Everything you believe about good and evil is a lie. Nietzsche explains why. Number 3. You were taught to be good, to follow the rules, to do what's right, even when it feels wrong. But what if everything you believe about good and evil is a lie? What if morality isn't divine or universal, but a cage, designed to make you obedient, predictable, and weak? Nietzsche didn't just question morality. He shattered it. He saw it as a tool used by the powerless to chain the powerful. From religion to education, we've been conditioned to believe that being good means being passive, self-sacrificing, humble. But Nietzsche dared to ask, who created this morality? And more importantly, who benefits from it? What if the very system that tells you to be good is what's keeping you from being free? This is episode 3 of our 7-part journey through Nietzsche's most dangerous truth. And this time we go to war, not with evil, but with the idea of good itself. If you're ready to challenge the foundation of everything you were taught to believe, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because once you see through this illusion, there's no going back. Moral disruption 1. The invention of good. How the weak took power. The idea of good that you carry, kindness, humility, self-denial, did not fall from heaven. It was not written in the stars. Nietzsche believed it was invented, by the weak, for the weak. It was a weapon, not a virtue. A way for those without power to survive in a world ruled by strength, by will, by instinct. And over time, that invention became sacred. Imagine a world where physical dominance ruled, where the strong acted, created, conquered, not out of cruelty, but because it was in their nature. Nietzsche called them the noble ones, not noble in morality, but in spirit. They didn't ask if something was right. They asked, is it worthy? Is it powerful? Is it beautiful? But they were feared, resented, and eventually overthrown, not with swords but with values. The weak, Nietzsche said, had to find another way to win. They couldn't overpower the strong. So they redefined power itself. They called strength evil. They called instinct sin. They called pride arrogance. And they called their own submission, their own timidity, good. It was the birth of what Nietzsche called slave morality. This morality didn't arise from love. It arose from revenge. A spiritual revenge. The resentment of those who felt powerless, masked as moral superiority. And it worked. Over generations, it flipped the world upside down. The lion was no longer admired, it was condemned. The lamb was no longer pitied, it was glorified. But here's the truth. If your definition of good comes from fear, it will never lead you to freedom. If it teaches you to suppress your power instead of express your truth, it isn't morality, it's control. Nietzsche believed that real virtue comes from strength, not obedience. From the courage to act, not the fear of doing wrong. When you follow the morality of the herd, you become small, predictable, safe. You judge yourself by how little harm you cause, instead of how much truth you bring. You become good in the eyes of the system, and dead in the eyes of your soul. This is why Nietzsche rejected the entire framework. He didn't want to reverse it. He wanted to destroy it. Because any morality based on resentment will always breed more weakness. It can't create greatness. It can only domesticate what it fears. So look at what you've been calling good. Does it make you braver? Stronger? More alive? Or does it just make you easier to control? Nietzsche challenges you. Stop asking what's acceptable. Start asking what's true. What's powerful? What's yours? You weren't born to be tame. You were born to create your own values, not inherit the fears of the past. That is the beginning of true morality. Not obedience, but authorship. Tell me in the comments, what definition of good are you ready to question or destroy? Moral disruption 2. The tyranny of guilt. Why you've been taught to feel ashamed of your power. There is a shadow that follows every step you take toward your truth, and its name is guilt. Not the kind that comes from harming others, the kind that comes from simply being who you are, wanting more. speaking louder, feeling stronger. Nietzsche believed that guilt is the ghost of slave morality, a spiritual parasite designed to keep the powerful afraid of themselves. From the moment you're born, you're praised for being small, quiet, obedient. You're rewarded for not making others uncomfortable, even if it means betraying your own instinct. And when you begin to stretch, to speak, to rise, the guilt creeps in. Who do you think you are? Why are you so much? Shouldn't you tone it down? But Nietzsche saw through it. He knew that this guilt is not the voice of conscience, it's the voice of control, of internalized fear, of inherited chains. It is morality turned inward as a weapon against vitality. And it has one mission: to make you ashamed of your fire. When you feel guilty for your ambition, your desires, your rage, your depth, that's not virtue. That's programming. It's the system punishing your instincts before you can even act on them. It's how the herd keeps you in check, by teaching you to police yourself. Nietzsche didn't believe in guilt. He believed in responsibility, not to others' expectations, but to your own becoming. He wanted you to listen not to shame, but to will, to the deeper voice inside you that says, I must do this because not doing it would kill my soul. The danger of guilt is that it makes your light feel like a threat. It turns your gifts into burdens. It teaches you that your greatness must be hidden or paid for. But your strength is not a sin. Your voice is not too loud. Your presence is not too big. The world needs what you're hiding. You do not owe the world your silence. You owe it your truth. And truth, Nietzsche knew, will always offend the weak. That's not a flaw. It's a sign you're on the right path. Let them call it arrogance. You'll call it awakening. So the next time guilt whispers in your ear, ask, whose voice is this? Who does it serve? And then let it go. Let it burn. There is no freedom while guilt holds the pen that writes your story. Now share with me in the comments, what do you feel guilty for that you know is actually part of your power? Moral disruption 3. The perverted virtue of self-sacrifice. You were told that sacrificing yourself for others is the highest good. That the more you give, the more you disappear, the more holy you become. But Nietzsche saw this as one of the most dangerous lies ever told. Not because generosity is wrong, but because self-sacrifice has been weaponized to glorify weakness and keep the strong from rising. In its purest form, giving is powerful. But what happens when you're taught that denying your own needs is moral? That shrinking your desires makes you good? That saying yes when your soul screams no is the right thing to do? You become a martyr, not for truth, but for control. Nietzsche believed that the cult of self-sacrifice was not born from love, but from envy. The weak couldn't match the strong in spirit or will, so they built a moral code that glorified suffering. They turned powerlessness into a virtue. They convinced the lion that being a lamb was divine. But ask yourself, who benefits when you destroy yourself for others? Who gains when you stay silent, small, obedient? It's not the world. It's the system, the herd, the ones who fear what you might become if you stopped bleeding on their behalf. True strength does not mean crushing others, but it also does not mean crushing yourself. Nietzsche's ideal human does not dim their fire to keep others warm. They burn unapologetically, and in that burning inspire others to light their own flame. Self-sacrifice, when demanded, becomes slavery. And slavery, no matter how noble it looks, is still a cage. You are not here to be a sacrificial offering. You are here to become, to create, to rise, to live with intensity. That is the highest offering to the world. To reclaim your soul, you must reclaim your boundaries. Your no is sacred. Your limits are not selfish. They are the edges of your becoming. Nietzsche believed in overflowing, not depletion. In giving from fullness, not from guilt. So stop confusing martyrdom with meaning. Your life is not a currency to buy moral approval. It is a sacred force, and your job is to protect it. Serve others, yes, but never at the cost of your own becoming. Ask yourself now, are you giving from love or from fear? And who taught you that burning out was the price of being good? Share in the comments. Where have you sacrificed too much, and what are you ready to reclaim? Moral disruption 4. Why evil is just uncomfortable truth. Think of the people you've been taught to call evil. Rebels, warriors, rule breakers, those who refuse to kneel. Now ask yourself, were they truly evil or just dangerous to the system? Nietzsche believed that much of what we label evil is simply power that refuses to be tamed. The concept of evil has been used more to suppress than to protect. It's a label slapped onto anything that threatens the herd's comfort, intensity, dominance, sexuality, rage, raw creativity. The dangerous truth? What you call evil might be the very part of you that's still alive. Nietzsche didn't deny that cruelty exists, but he wanted us to look deeper. He wanted us to question who defines evil and why. Often, it's the weak calling the strong evil to neutralize them. It's the system calling the outsider dangerous to justify their exile. History is full of prophets, artists, and visionaries who were branded evil in their time, only to be revered later. Why? Because truth is almost always uncomfortable, and those who speak it are always a threat to those who benefit from silence. Your fire will be called too much. Your voice will be called arrogant. Your desire will be called sinful. But Nietzsche says, let them call it what they will. Their discomfort is not your guide. Their labels are not your chains. Their fear is not your responsibility. The concept of evil, when used by the herd, is not a moral compass. It's a leash. It's how they control the unpredictable, how they shame the unmanageable, how they keep the wild ones tame. But you were not born to be tame. This is why Nietzsche believed in going beyond good and evil, not into lawlessness, but into authorship. He wanted you to reclaim the parts of yourself you've buried out of fear of being misunderstood. He wanted you to name them not evil, but sacred. So the next time someone calls your truth dangerous, thank them. You're on the right track. You're becoming real. The only evil worth fearing is the death of your authenticity. Everything else is a shadow someone else placed over your light. Look closely. What part of you have you feared, judged, or silenced because it was called wrong? Leave it in the comments. Let's call back our power. Moral disruption 5. The herd's morality. Why most people are not good, just afraid. What we call morality in society is often nothing more than conformity drenched in fear. People don't behave because they are good. They behave because they are terrified of being excluded, judged, or punished. Nietzsche called this the morality of the herd, not a system based on truth, but on obedience. Not a path to virtue, but a strategy for survival. Think about it. How many people follow rules not because they believe in them, but because they fear consequences? How many stay silent in the face of injustice, not because they agree, but because they're afraid of standing out? That is not goodness. That is cowardice. And Nietzsche had no patience for it. He believed that morality should come from within, from strength, clarity, self-possession. But the herd's morality comes from without. It rewards the tame, the quiet, the easily frightened. It punishes passion. It mocks rebellion. It fears the wild soul. And so it builds a system where mediocrity is virtue and greatness is suspect. The truly moral individual, the one who creates their own values, is often hated by the herd, because their existence exposes the cowardice of those who never dared. Their authenticity is a mirror. Their courage is a threat. And their freedom is a crime in a world addicted to control. But Nietzsche challenges you. Would you rather be accepted for being false or rejected for being real? Would you rather fit into a system that was never made for you, or create a new path so true that it shatters the old one completely? Morality must be earned, not inherited. It must be lived, not recited. The herd follows morality like a script, blind, automatic, soulless. But you are not here to follow scripts. You are here to write them with blood, fire, and vision. Look around. The world does not need more polite people. It needs more truth-tellers, more boundary breakers, more souls unafraid to question the commandments they were born into. That's what Nietzsche meant by the overman, not someone above others, but someone beyond the herd. If you feel out of place in the morality around you, good. It means your soul is too alive to be anesthetized. It means you still have a pulse, and maybe even a roar. So stop trying to be liked by people who've never truly lived. Let your life offend the dull. Let your fire unsettle the fake. Your morality should make you dangerous, not obedient. Let's open this up. When have you followed the herd at the cost of your truth? And what would it look like to stop? Moral Disruption 6, Beyond Good and Evil. Creating your own code. Nietzsche didn't just want to destroy traditional morality. He wanted to set the stage for something greater. Not chaos for its own sake, but a revaluation of all values. He believed the future would belong to those brave enough to step beyond good and evil, not into lawlessness, but into authorship. What does it mean to go beyond good and evil? It means realizing that right and wrong are not fixed laws carved into the universe. They are human inventions born from need, fear, resentment. And if they were created once, they can be recreated again. By you. This is not the path of relativism. Anything goes. No. This is the path of sovereignty. The moment you stop outsourcing your ethics to tradition, religion, or culture and begin writing your own code from the ground up. A code built on truth, power, experience, and deep reflection. You begin to ask, what do I value? Not what I was taught to value. Not what makes others comfortable. But what awakens me. What makes me more human. More alive. More free. Nietzsche wanted you to become not a follower of morals, but a creator of meaning. That creation is not easy. It requires solitude, courage, brutal honesty, because when you walk beyond good and evil, you lose the comfort of external approval. There's no crowd cheering, no map, no applause, just you and the fire you carry. But in that fire, something holy happens. You stop being an echo. You stop being a product. You become a force, a presence, a living philosophy in motion. Your life becomes your scripture, your choices your commandments, not imposed from above, but born from within. Nietzsche called this the highest responsibility, not to obey, but to become. Not to copy morality, but to embody a higher truth that cannot be written in book. The kind of truth only a burning soul can find. You are not here to live someone else's ethic. You are here to build your own altar. Not to bow before it, but to stand on it, blazing with your own sacred vision. So ask yourself now, what values are truly yours? And what were just inherited like chains disguised as gift? Drop it in the comments. What law are you ready to write for yourself? Moral Disruption 7. The Birth of the Overman. When you stop asking for permission to be free. In a world where morality is used to tame, to shame, and to domesticate the wild soul, Nietzsche offered a radical alternative, the Übermensch or overman. Not a hero, not a saint, but a being who has gone so far beyond good and evil that he no longer asks what is right. He creates what is necessary. His life becomes the answer to the moral confusion of the world. The overman does not wait for validation. He does not seek permission to evolve. He does not check with society before breaking its rules. He moves like a force of nature, not because he is reckless, but because he is free. And that freedom doesn't come from rejecting morals, it comes from transcending them. You don't become the overman by being better than others. You become him by being better than your former self, by outgrowing the inherited stories, the tribal rules, the spiritual obedience you once mistook for truth. It's not superiority over people. It's sovereignty over your own soul. Nietzsche believed this is where humanity must go, if it is to survive its own weakness, because a world run by fear-based morality cannot evolve. It can only recycle guilt, punishment, and shame. But the overman cuts through all of it like a blade. not to destroy meaning, but to forge new meaning in the fire of his own becoming. You will know you are becoming this kind of human when you no longer feel guilt for standing alone. When you no longer need others to agree with your truth. When you feel a deeper loyalty to your becoming than to your belonging. The overman creates values that serve life, not deny it. That serve strength, not hide it. That serve creation, not conformity. His morality is not a leash, but a catalyst. And his presence is disruptive, because it reminds others of what they could be if they stopped asking for permission. But this path comes with a price. You will be misunderstood, misjudged, called evil, called selfish. But Nietzsche knew, that is the price of truth. Not everyone is meant to walk this path. But if you're reading this, if you feel the tension in your chest, maybe you are. You were not born to follow. You were born to break through. Not to rebel for the sake of rebellion, but to become something no one has ever seen. Not a copy of an old virtue, but the birth of a new one. This is what it means to rise beyond good and evil, not into chaos, but into creation. And in that creation, morality becomes art. Philosophy becomes blood. And your life becomes your final, fearless answer to the world's oldest question: what is the right way to live? Now tell me, what truth are you ready to live, even if no one approves? Burn the script. You were never meant to be good. The greatest lie you've been told is that being good means being silent, small, obedient. But now you've seen the truth Nietzsche fought to reveal. Morality, as you know it, was not designed to free you, it was built to contain you. A system born from fear, resentment, and control. And unless you break it, you will never know who you truly are. Through each disruption, you've reclaimed pieces of your power. You've questioned the guilt, rejected the shame, and stared into the eyes of everything you were taught to suppress. That wasn't rebellion. That was resurrection. You're not here to follow a script. You're here to burn it, and in the ashes, write something terrifyingly original, your own code, your own truth, your own way. And in the next episode, Being Yourself Hurts for a Reason, Nietzsche exposes the hidden price. We'll confront the pain of authenticity. Why becoming real will cost you everything, and why that pain is the proof you're on the right path. Like, subscribe, activate the bell, and share this episode with someone who still thinks being good is enough. The age of obedience is ending, and something wild is about to take its place.